Hi, welcome to the next edition of Watching the Standard Meta. In today's episode, I got a total of 8 decks to talk about. 2 of them are kind of similar, but there's slight differences between the two, and we're going to talk about those as well. So if you like this kind of content, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000 subs. Let's get there together, and let's dive into the current meta trends of Standard and get into the sweet, spicy 8 list. Let's dive in. So, meta shifts. We have a little bit of increase on red deck wins, Pixie, Demir midrange, and Bounce, all of which are gaining traction. Spellslingers have kind of really taken over the meta as well. Those are actually some of the decks we're going to be talking about today, is this brand new deck right here. Besides that, Zur is definitely on the downtick. Gruul aggro is basically going down, so that way Spellslingers and red deck wins takes up their meta percentages. Of course, Overlords can't really compete in this current meta. Not really, with all these aggro decks kind of going up and up and up overall. The rest of these, there's barely a little bit of traction. Notice there's this flash deck down here. We'll be talking about that as well. And overall, I think that's actually about it. There's not a lot of meta shifts here, and overall, the standard meta has kind of stagnated for quite some time, besides the Spellslinger, which, I mean, it's not really anything new, because it's how much different really is it than the red deck wins, and the other aggro decks. It's not like it's a new type of deck entirely, which would be probably way more welcomed than the bounce decks and aggro. I mean, that's not a very, in my opinion, not a very great meta to be in. But, it's not terrible, I guess. I mean, you have mid-range a little bit represented, but not that much. There's Golgari mid-range is on the dip, with the bounce decks just kind of taking over. They got a bunch of new pieces as well. One of them we're talking about in a different deck, but I do not have a bounce deck on my top list because I don't really like it. So let's dive into the 8 list I have to talk about. So first is the Azorius Flash deck. Now, all right, so first is the Azorius Flash deck. Now, I played this exact list for a video, and it was weird. We managed to face Saffron Olive, and man, was that an experience. Turns out there's just one card in Standard that makes this deck's life a living hack. And yeah, he had it both games and wrecked me with it. So if you're wanting to watch that gameplay, go check it out. I think it airs next week or something like that. But yeah, this is a very weird deck list. It kind of plays a little bit like Spirits, a little bit of Shelter by Ghost. The Kieran works quite well with the Drowner, which is why I was able to get a lot of nice sequencing going on. But sadly, we don't have black, so we don't have Kaido, which is a very good card also. And honestly, Kaido is probably better than Enduring Curiosity. So I don't know if I would have wanted to come back to this deck and maybe make it Esper to pick up the Kaido. Kieran seems really decent. Wharton seems really good in the deck. So I'm just not sure about that exchange. We have a little bit of counter magic. Often I found myself getting rid of the counters, especially against aggro, and bringing in, or against mid-range too, depending on what matchup is. Like Raise the Past, really good against mid-range or heavy amounts of spot removal. Destroy Evil for enchantment hate. Wilt for bounce hate, graveyard hate, aggro hate. So whenever I faced aggro, I brought in a split up, cut No More Lies. And I also kind of like Tidebinder. It's a nice body. It trades with most aggro threats. And against the mouse, it did some work because it was able just to counter the death trigger and they weren't able to get it. And Protect the Negotiators. Pretty solid card. If you need more tempo, you would be more tempo oriented against control. Something like that. There's a nice little include with your No More Life for, 6 counter spells. So that is Azorius Convoke. It's a pretty good spicy list. I think overall it kind of plays similar. The best you're going to get to Spirits in Standard. So if you like Spirits, check this deck out. And figure out a way, please, to kill the new human bard that just prevents you from casting spells on their turn, because that was horrible. Let's get into the next list. So next is this Jeskai Dragons list. The new Regent and the new 5-drop. Sadly, they didn't play the March of the Machines Dragon in this list. Zurgo, that would be kind of cool. But, they have Beza, nice way to gain life against aggro, 3 steps ahead. The best counter spell in the game. For 3-drop counters, we have Excel as a way to also counter and, potentially reveal a dragon. 3 Blind Mice. I guess it's okay. I mean, I don't know what you're doing with that. Day of Judgment for Sweeper, stock up to help dig. We have 1 Revelation as a way to, bounce something, draw some cards. Helix for aggro, Get Lost for mid-range and aggro, and enchantment hate. Against basically against domain, we have Jace, the way to mill them out. Another Beza for aggro. Split Up for aggro. Tiebinder for Atraxa. Flanker is a nice way to get graveyard hate and potentially scry. Helix for aggro. Liege for bounce. Negate for control, mid-range, stuff like that. Let's dive into the next list. So next on my list is this Orzhov token shell. It picked up Elspeth Storm Slayer. I wanted to showcase a deck with this card in it, for standard purposes. But, it has Enduring Innocence, Carrot Cake, Overlords, Beza. Pretty standard stuff here. We have some Sunfalls, Smites, so spot removal with Annoy and cut downs. We have a Caretaker's Talent. Sideboard, we do have Pest Control, probably most likely good against Bounce. Destroy Evil for enchantment hate, most likely. Smite for aggro hate. Duress for control, midrange, and combo hate. Stonebrain for control and combo hate. Graveyard hate, and bounce hate. That is Orzhov tokens for standard. Let's dive into the second half of this stuff. Let's go. So we have Izzet Prowess, which is this Izzet Spellslinger deck. The new card they picked up is the Cutter card. This deck has Lightning Strikes, Rage, Burst Lightning, Bolt Wave, and plus Swift Spear, Shell Off, Sleight of Hand, Talent. A lot of ways to get prowessy creatures. We have Dive Down in the board, plus Spell Pierce in case we want to stop target removal. And it's pretty good against control. Graveyard hate, land hate in case they have a lot of non-basics. Aggro hate, kind of just a catch-all card. All else fails, like sometimes maybe your bolt waves are just bad and you'd rather be able just to bounce a lockdown or something. Frenzy, nice way to hate on mid-range threats like Shieldred. And let's get into the other version of this type shell. So I played this deck for a video as well. And the difference between the two is Bolt Wave, as you can see there, and Lightning Strikes, and more Stock Ups and Spell Pierces in the main. This one makes their mana much worse, even though I love Teamer, my favorite color combo, but it was quite tricky to get all your Izzet stuff, so you do take a hit there. And besides that, there's a lot of similarities across both decks. Step you play, I said you play the Druid and the Otter. I'm not sure about the Otter. I think, and I made the comment in the other video, I'd rather just put these Druids in the main. But we have Bounce Off. Could argue that also could just be the other card into the Flood Maul. We have Stock Ups in case we need an extra one against mid-range. Druid for the same thing. Formation for enchantment hate and flying hate. Torch for aggro hate. Spell Pierce for target removal hate. Barrage, that's a nice way to hit on Oculus and Vacuum. Graveyard hate. And so that's the Teamer aggro version. I don't think this is better than the other one because you do take a hit on the mana base, and Standard's mana base is not very good. And your payoffs for going into green is Formation, really. Druid, I guess, is okay. Otter's not worth it. That's just my opinion. Let me know in the comment section what you think. We have 3 more decks to cover. Let's dive in. So next on my list is this Lesnia tokens list with the brand new Elspeth plus Overlords. Pretty sweet idea. Plus Beza, Carrot Cake, some Get Lost, some Day of Judgments and Sunfall for removal. End as a nice way to help with up the Beanstalk to draw a card. Plus remove. Caretaker's Talents, 3 copies, plus the Smite for more aggro hate. Against aggro, we also have Authority. Make their stuff ETP tapped, and some more Smites for aggro. Rest in Peace for graveyard hate. Liege for bounce hate. Brain for kind of a catch-all against control or combo. Terra Sunder, nice catch-all removal spell. Beza for aggro. Nisa and Elstorm more for potentially ETB effects, like the bounce deck, or mid-range and stuff like that as well. Where you want to basically cut the Day of Judgments and the Sunfall. But overall, I might actually play this deck for, not really for a video, maybe for just a live stream. If you're interested, let me know in the comment section, and I'll consider playing it for a live stream or something like that. Let's get into the next list. All right, so I have 2 more decks to cover before my voice gives out, because it's starting to kind of get worse. This deck, we're playing FOMO, Terra Light Shatter. Basically, it's the Fable and Mirror Breaker now at standard. Overlord, pretty solid card to help fill every yard. For Valgavoth, Tally, Atraxa. We have our Zombifies, Ultimate Explosion for a bit of a sweeper that we can pitch away our big threats. Torture Tower for spot removal with Bitter Triumph. Cruelty of Gix for reanimation. And we have this little dragon over here as a way to bounce some stuff, and it's not a terrible body. We have some Duress for control. Pyroclasms for aggro. Chandra for grinding matchups, along with Shieldred. Preacher for, I guess you could argue, maybe aggro. You might want to trim back on some of your top end to bring creatures in that actually could block the game to make it go long. Or they might be expecting a lot of graveyard hate, and you might want to bring Preachers in for that as well. Is it Pyroclasm end for aggro? We have our graveyard hate with Vacuum, so we can exile their best stuff and get them back as a 1/1. We have one last deck to cover. Let's dive in. So last on my list is this weird 5-color Relic deck with Rona, Relic. So we have our Go for the Throat, Proft, tons of different legendary creatures with a brand new Light Shatter, Rip, and some Urtai. So like, and we have Ellis Norn, pretty spicy card there too. And we have Ellis Accord, pretty good there. Tyvar. Sideboard, we have Chandra for grinding matchups, Urtai for control combo, Titania, I'm not really sure what that's for, honestly. It's kind of weird. Shielder for grinding matchups as well. Terra Thunder for artifact and enchantment hate. Plus, also get exile something really relevant. That's not maybe those types. We have a couple of negates for control. Ghost Vacuum for graveyard hate. Duress for control, so we could probably cut downs. Go for the Throat. Go up Duress. Negates. Pretty solid swaps there. Blot Out also could be brought in because against control, they pretty much most of the time win by Planeswalkers. So Blot Out works there. And then we have our graveyard hate. So that is all I have to cover for you guys today. Let me know in the comment section which one of these decks you think is the sweetest. And I'll talk to you guys next time.